Hey all, Alex from Music Hub here, and today we'll be doing a review of the 1831 novel by Victor Hugo, The Hunchback of Notre-Dame. Note here that the translation I'm reviewing is anonymous. The specific copy I read was the one that Barnes& Noble published as part of their classic series in 2004. You can see it right up here. Victor Marie Hugo, born the 26th of February 1802 in Besançon-Doubs, France, died the 22nd of May 1885 in Paris. The son of a French military officer, Hugo grew up in an environment that required a great degree of social conscientiousness, and from an early age, his writing reflected that. Hugo was against the idea of absolutism, or the idea that one individual or institution should hold unlimited power, and he would project that worldview onto his works, including his 1829 novel, The Last Day of a Condemned Man. Hugo's career would ultimately last for almost 60 years, including novels, poems, stage works, and a 15-year-long exile in England that saw him publish his most famous work, Les Miserables, but we'll get to that at a later date. The Hunchback of Notre-Dame is, in essence, an advertisement for Notre-Dame Cathedral. And I realize that that description sounds shallow and capitalistic, perhaps, but you have to understand that when Hugo was writing the novel, French social and political norms were changing so much that a lot of the medieval Gothic structures were being destroyed, either to consciously rid the country of that archaic style of architecture, or simply out of neglect. Notre Dame did not have the sacred place in French culture that it does today. It very well could have met the same fate. And the fact that it doesn't can be credited to this novel, in large part anyways, a novel which not only is set around the cathedral and describes its design in great detail, but utilizes the cathedral as the most important plot point in its climax. The religious import that Parisians placed in Notre Dame is contrasted directly with the power of the French monarchy in genuinely stunning fashion, and Hugo seems to suggest that both institutions are capable of corruption, but also that it's important to have both of them there to balance each other out. The plot of this novel is often cited as extremely dark, and I can agree with that to an extent, but what gets underrepresented is that Hugo actually gets into satirical territory quite a lot in the first half of the novel, to the point where it almost causes a genuine tonal clash between that part and then the darker second half. The Archdeacon Claude Frollo's relationship with his troublemaking alcoholic brother makes some use of this satirical element. And speaking of Frollo, he is certainly the moral center of this book, but for all the wrong reasons. He is an indictment of immorality in the church, and watching his sort of descension into madness throughout the novel is both satisfying and frightening. The book also changes perspectives quite a lot, which allows you to get inside the heads of quite a few of these characters. The gypsy Esmeralda is a tragic figure, if somewhat delicate due to her youth and maybe not quite explored enough emotionally, but the emotional center of this book is undoubtedly the hunchback himself, Quasimodo. I don't want to compare the book too much to the 1996 Disney animated film adaptation, even if that movie is most people's primary reference for the Hunchback story at this point, but Disney certainly understood the appeal and the importance of Quasimodo when they made the movie. His own morals may not be entirely pure, but he confronts injustice right to its face, even when it means contradicting the words and actions of the man who had raised him since he was a babe. He also defends the sanctity and the integrity of the church better than any of the other characters who represent it in official manners, archdeacons, provosts, what have you, which I think is powerful commentary in and of itself. If there's one blemish to this novel, it's that if you're reading it completely unabridged, which I did, you will have to sift through the sections that are basically just descriptions of Notre Dame, the cathedral, and why it's important. These sections don't really have any direct connection to the actual plot, but I already addressed why those sections were needed at the time, why Hugo thought they were important. Again, another example of why context really is key for understanding some of these stories. And besides, the sections are pretty easy to skim through if you're so inclined. Beyond that, though, it is a genuinely powerful book, one of the most powerful novels or works of literature that I've read in this whole deep dive, and it's not hard to see why it was such a sensation among French readers. The fact that it helped preserve one of medieval architecture's greatest triumphs is an added bonus in itself. Just terrific stuff. And that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, more reviews are to come. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Music Hub.